I go over since someone was asking me about like my keybinds and stuff, I'm gonna go over it real quick. Kind of give you a brief overview of how I have my setup. So here are my controls, like my sensitivities and stuff. So I'm 400 DPI on my mouse, 45 cents, pretty much all the way down. Everything's like kind of skewed to that sensitivity. I'm on hold to aim, hold to hold breath, fuck a candid sight. My leans are hold as well. I think that's about it. I don't really use my aim. Pretty much just all ADS for me. Although if you can use your aim, I would. WASD, that's all regular. My crouch is shift, but that's just because I'm a console player and it's easier for me to hit it with my pinky like this. Let's see. Prone is control again because I'm console. I had my paddles on the bottom of my controller, so I would hit it with those. You can kind of run those wherever you want. Auto runs up here just because it's easy access. I like to auto run a lot. My free look's my middle mouse. I think that's pretty standard. Canted sight is V. That's just a random button I had open. Reloads regular. Primary weapons are all regular.
Hey, all, just real quick, I wanted to mention, because I forgot to do this while I was live, my primary weapons, normally you would switch through with your scroll wheel, or you could, it was an option. I unbound that. I would recommend unbinding that, because it's generally not an accurate way to do so, because you may end up switching to your grenades or melee weapon. I would recommend using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 to switch through your primary, secondary weapons, as well as your sidearm, melee, and grenades. I would bind those to different keys. I would not use scroll wheel. Scroll wheel is unbound for me when it comes to switching certain items.
I do have my map key on 4, just because I find it easily accessible. M is actually mute the game for me. M was too far. I just wanted a map that's more accessible. I would recommend putting it on your mouse, maybe something like that. Let's see. My throwables is bound to G. I have Z as smokes because I like to be able to easily access my smokes. And I have frags on my mouse in a random weird button. Holster weapons is X. This stuff, you can just kind of put it on whatever. The stun smokes and molotovs. Inspect weapon, you put that on whatever. Same with emotes. Zeroing, I don't really use too much. I don't change my reticule as well, so this is all just default. I don't really use it. My hold breath is E. Now, it's E because I don't use Q and E to lean. And E is easily accessible while I'm shooting because I don't need to move. If I leaned with Q and E, I would probably have hold breath on my mouse or something that I find easily accessible. I think some people have it on walk as well. Same bind as walk. My sprint is my caps lock and tab is my inventory. Freaking grenade is R. Medkit, I don't really use that. First aid, I use that H, so I want it to be easily accessible. Same with bandage is B. My switched weapons is bound to my mouse. It's right here because I want that easily accessible.
Here, when I said my switched weapons is bound to my mouse, I meant my my select fire, like when switching from auto to single or to burst. That's on my mouse, not my switching weapons. That is not my mouse.
Use boost item is Y. My boost on car is left shift, but you can kind of use whatever. My leans are on my mouse, so I lean right with this one and left with this one. I don't know if I would necessarily recommend that though, because it can definitely mess with your aim, right? Like Q and E might be better, but I struggled with that because my left hand dexterity is definitely bad, especially when I first started out. So I went straight to mouse lean because it's way easier for me to do with my thumb. It's a little more comfortable. However, long term, it could affect your aim. Maybe my aim will never be as good. I personally, it doesn't really mess up my aim, but you may find it different. I have a friend who uses lean on spacebar and alt. That's another option. It's a weird one, but it's an option if you can't do Q and E. Some people switch Q and E, so Q would be right lean and E would be left lean, so you can kind of shift over like this. There's some tutorials on that if you look up leaning wacky jacky on YouTube. I use my mouse. I don't know if I'd recommend that though. It was comfortable for me. If it's comfortable with you and you feel it doesn't affect your aim, then you know, go for it. I think that's pretty much it. Quick marker is bound to left fire. You should always do this because it points to where you last shot, so you don't have to call it out. It puts it on your direct, what is it, cardinal direction wheel, I guess, your compass. But make sure you don't bind it here. Bind your left click here. You want to bind your left click here, or else this will take over your shooting and you won't be able to shoot. Yeah, inventory is tab. I think pretty much everything else is default. My push to talk is left alt, but you can do whatever for that one. And I think that's it for that kind of stuff. Here's all my other settings, in case anyone needs anything. All my stuff is low just because it renders faster. There's less delay, as well as I get the best FPS. Some of these you can higher, I just don't. Alright, I think that's it. I hope that helps. If you guys have any specific questions, I'm down to answer.